now I'm back with the drawing textbook. Lesson number 3. And this has to do with shading. Because there's always light shining onto something, which gives it a light side and a dark side. And that's the word shading. So we're going to start with a simple table with shading. We've drawn a table before. Let's draw the table. Here's our tabletop. There's the edges of our table. And the table has a nice stand, of course. There's our table. Now this table may look like this edge is right under this edge, but you can imagine that it's further in. Here we're going to give it shading. If we imagine that the light is coming from here, right here, then this side of the table will be dark. Just going to color that in lightly to shade it. And underneath too. And if you think about it, this part under here will be even darker because it's underneath the edge of the table. So we're going to make that a little bit darker there. Now you see the difference between that part and this other part. There's our simple table with shading. Okay, now we're going to do a simple candle with shading. Again, we make a candle with our foreshortened circle. And we're no, that's not right. Excuse me. That was wrong. Actually, I want to go up with the wick, obviously. Come down with my sides of my candle. The base of my candle is the bottom part of a foreshortened circle. I'm going to put on a base too. It's on a little candle stand of sorts. My candle stand, and if I imagine, well, I have a little bit of light up here, which is going to give me a different type of shading, but we're going to imagine that the light is coming from this side, so that this side of the candle and the base would be in a little bit of shadow. You want to have the shadow slightly curved, the shading, because of course it's a curved candle, and it's not a flat thing. You might make it to look like it has 3 dimensions and not just 2. A little darker on the edge there because it's further away from where I imagine my light to be coming from. And if I imagine my light's coming here, then this is the darkest part on the back side there. All right, there is my simple candle with shading. We're going to do a simple birthday cake with shading. This one is just like the birthday cake before. We're going to do the foreshortened circle and the sides of our cake and the bottom of our cake. And we'll put it on a plate. And I'll put a few candles up here. Here's my candles. They're not very decorative. If we imagine again the light is coming from this side, then this side is dark. And so I'm going to shade that in. And I'm just drawing very lightly. Here it gets dark. It would do it darker a bit because that's the far side. And there's our candle. That's our very simple birthday cake with shading. Okay, then we have a house. Now, we are going to draw from the corner of the house. I'm just going to actually draw, this is the corner of the house. Here's our, well, we'll say this is the side of the house. That should be straight there. And here's the front of our house. Here's where my door is. And here's a window here. That was a bad line. There's a window. And then because this is the front of the house, I'm going to put my roof here, which is a triangle, right? And then this is the edge of the roof, and this comes down this way. And there's my roof. This line actually should be parallel to that one. I didn't do that very well. This one should be like this. Right, these two lines need to be parallel, so I'm just going to erase that messy one. Okay, and here's our house. Looks a little better there with those lines parallel. Right, because even though things are at an angle, an unusual angle for drawing, things are still paralleled with each other, right? These lines are parallel, these ones, these. They're all parallel, except for, of course, the triangle here, which you don't. If we imagine, here's our various tiles on our roof. If you're in Germany, you would appreciate that more, perhaps. The little, if we had the light coming from the back, then this whole side here is in shade. So I'm just going to lightly draw through that side of the house. Right, because my light is coming from here. Okay. There's my simple house with shading. They want us to draw now a simple flag, which involves some three-dimensional perspective here. I'm just going to draw my flagpole first. There's my flagpole. If you think of the flag waving, there's the waving flag, right? What you want to do is you want to go draw down from the end of your flag. And then wherever it curves, you want to draw down too. Now this length needs to be the same as this, or this length here, should be the same length as that one. And this one would be the same length, but it goes behind the flag, so we don't see it. Then this comes over here, the bottom part of the waving, and then we have to imagine this went down to the same length, so our flag continues there. Right? So this length, and this length, and this length are all the same on our flag. It was a little trickier, but again, the curve, and then the lengths here, here, and here are all the same. That's our flag. And now we're going to draw a wedding cake, a three-level like birthday cake. And we'll start with our foreshortened candle up top. Not candle, but circle up top. Here's layer one of our cake. We can make a whole lot of layers if we want, but we'll do probably just 2 or 3. Probably just 3. Here comes layer 2. And layer 3 is a very fancy birthday cake, wedding cake. A lot of cake for everybody at the party. That's a little too swishy, that one. I didn't like that line at all. I'm just going to make it a little less dramatic there. There we go, that's better. Here's our wedding cake, and we, of course, are going to imagine the light coming from the side, so we're going to shade here. Very lightly. I mean, I'm not coloring anything in here after all. And it needs to be a little bit curvy because the cake itself is curvy, but I'm going to draw this back part a little bit darker for the shading. Because it's the furthest away from my light, I imagine. Or my imagined light. Right, so for straight things, you're going to draw kind of straight shadowing just to fill it in. But for curved figures, make sure you curve the shadowing so it goes with what you imagine the shape to be. It's foreshortened. All of these shading lines are foreshortened, just like this circle up top. And that is our 4 things for today. The table with shading, the candle with shading, a birthday cake with shading, a house with shading, a flag which doesn't have any shading, it's just to get the shape, and a wedding cake.